The first thing people notice about the University of Connecticut School of Law is our beautiful Gothic campus. Because we have many buildings, we have wonderful indoor and outdoor spaces, giving us the feel of a small liberal arts college. Yet these spacious surroundings are located in the center of a vibrant metropolitan area, Hartford, Connecticut, which is also the capital of the state. This location provides our students with exciting opportunities for access to the state legislature, the state courts, both the Supreme Court and the appellate courts, the governor's office, and the attorney general's office, and all the things you'd expect at the seat of government. You may wonder why I talk about teaching in a video celebrating faculty scholarship. Anyone who has ever stood in front of a classroom understands that to clearly explain things to people, you have to think them through on your own first. And there's no better way to do that than to put your ideas on paper, whether it's in a book, a scholarly article, even an op-ed piece. All these forums encourage authors to consider alternative perspectives and to be prepared to engage with opposing points of view. Our faculty have the added experience of traveling around the country and around the world, engaging with other scholars and testing their ideas in open debate. So by the time they return to campus, they know just how they want to present their ideas to the students. And our students have the joy of seeing faculty members who are excited about their work and eager to make a contribution to public understanding. That's why celebrating teaching and faculty scholarship go hand in hand. We are very proud of our faculty's productivity and the names of the publishers on the cover of the books. But what really excites us are the ideas inside, and that's why we are celebrating the year of the book. Mark Janis is the founding father of international law at the University of Connecticut Law School. As a result of his efforts, our school was one of the first to have exchange programs with foreign law schools. And Mark often jokes that his dream is to show up one day at the law school and see every office occupied by a foreign professor while all our colleagues are off teaching at other places. As a result of his efforts, we have students from all across the world studying with our students. And we make a special point that when we send students to study overseas, they study with students from other countries and not simply with other Americans in exotic places such as Rome or Paris. As a scholar, Mark is very prolific. He writes a book almost every year. He has an international law casebook, a European human rights casebook. His most recent book, America and the Law of Nations, 1776 to 1939, which we celebrate today, is an intellectual history of America's approach to international law, and he does it with a very interesting methodology. He tells the story of leading thinkers such as Jeremy Bentham and Woodrow Wilson as a way of dramatizing and getting people, not just academics, but ordinary people interested in the topic of international law. It's another example of the fine scholarship done by our faculty that we celebrate with the year of the book.
Well, John's going to have to be very careful in any of his written or spoken comments about me, because as I go into the modern period of international law, I will be talking about him and leaving his record in history. So please take his words with a grain of salt. Some of it is just self-protection. John's played a real role in modern American international law, for which we're all very grateful. And John's probably one of the few people who's actually read my book, and so I personally am very grateful for that. Just two things, and then open up for any sorts of comments you may have. One is sort of about the substance of the book, and the second one is about the method of the book. The first thing about the substance of the book, for me, and it's something not widely shared, I suppose, I take a lot of lessons from history. And so I find that I can really understand modern times better by understanding what's come before. So it's sort of a developmental view. So even though what I talk about may be 50 or 200 years old, for me it all has a current relevance. And I try to bring some of that out in the book to try to point out what it is in the past that is illuminative about the present in time. And I certainly have had my thoughts changed about my discipline by doing the work. I think my most important change is the attitude that I had and now have about Woodrow Wilson. Having grown up in sort of a Woodrow Wilson fan club, I don't share that anymore. I think he was more the problem than a solution. And to the distress of many, I am now, like my good friend John Noyes, a William Howard Taft enthusiast. And for those of you who live in West Hartford, I don't know if you saw several weeks ago, there was a William Howard Taft story in the West Hartford News about an address that he gave in West Hartford when he was president, where his theme was international courts and international congresses, and about how well it was attended and what he spoke for. Taft was really, in my sentiment, a great man in many ways, as you know. But anyway, I've become a big Taft fan over time. Another thing I think I suspected to find that I did find was that the attitude towards law in general and international law in particular is really rooted in a culture. And law and lawyers, domestic or international, whatever it is going to work and be efficacious and be important, not so much depending on what we do, but on what society thinks of us. And some of that is within our means to control, but a lot of it is just basically luck. And international law has had luck in American society, and it's had bad luck in American society. And I agree with John. I don't think we're in the worst of all possible times towards attitudes towards international law, but certainly it doesn't compare to other periods of American history where international law was much more important.
Now, I do want to mention, because I'm not sure that very many of you know this, but I have written a review of Mark's book that appears in the American Journal of International Law at volume 105 and page 384. And I'll be drawing a little bit from that in my comments. But for those of you who want to read the full review, that's where you can find it. More important, of course, you should read Mark's book. And indeed, better yet, you should buy Mark's book. So I definitely want to encourage that. Now, in the very beginning of the review, I remark that Americans are not known for their knowledge of history. And for that matter, I suspect that law professors are not known for their knowledge of history, and probably even less known for their knowledge of history of international law, at least with the U.S., even with the U.S. Focus. So Mark has, that's not true of Mark. Of course, Mark has produced other writings and books in this area. His book, as you know, stops in 1939, and he tells me, and I'm glad to learn this, that he is going to write another volume that will take him at least up to about 1989. I'm a little bit distressed to hear, however, that he says this is going to be a continuing work of progress, and my only concern is that I live long enough to see the second volume, so I hope you'll speed it up here, Mark, and I'd be delighted to review it.